Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello everybody, my name is Minh and I'm your host today from NDIS Property Australia here in Brisbane, and you're listening to the SDA Housing Podcast, a show that explains, highlights, guides and brings awareness about all things in SDA to you, the listener, about this ever-changing NDIS world. Today's topic is about Tasmania and Hobart specifically, and joining to us is our guest speaker, our regular guest speaker who we can't get rid of, Robert Maxwell from Melbourne. Hello, Rob.
Hi, Minh. Hi, everyone. Happy to be back speaking about Tassie this time.
Yeah. So one of the things we've ever discussed in the past 3 months or so, Rob, is Tasmania and Hobart. And this is a great time for us to promote this because we've been wanting to get into this market for a while now. Rob, can you explain to us what the opportunities lie ahead of us for our listeners about this untapped market in Tasmania?
Yeah, well, that's the key question. At the minute, Tassie is very much in its infancy with the NDIS SDA housing. There's very little, if not any, currently in operation. There might be a few that are starting to be built now, so that we know that there's demand.
There's currently, according to our records, 4 recently built brand new SDA builds, and they are 2 robust and 2 fully accessible, and that's it.
Okay, which compared to the rest of Australia is minimal. So that's the opportunity to build these properties now where the risk of tenancy vacancy will be very low because there's obviously significant demand in Tassie that you'll be able to talk to in terms of the stats there, I'm sure.
Looking at our stats, our research here, there is about, well, Tassie. Rob, what are the main areas or cities or towns of Tasmania?
Hobart's obviously the big one. For those of you in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, Hobart's reasonably small. I think its population is around 150,000. Beautiful city. Then you've got Launceston up in the northern tip of Tasmania, which again is another city that's done very well property-wise over the last 7 or 8 years. And there's a few other smaller cities, Devonport, in between the two. But the main areas are Hobart, Launceston, and probably Devonport in terms of the opportunities for this, particularly Hobart.
Well, the numbers for Hobart with regards to demand is about 180 participants in SDA dwelling. So there is demand for 180 participants in SDA dwellings. And they are mostly currently living in group homes and legacy homes. So for all our listeners who don't know what that is, that's basically under the older scheme. So prior to the NDIS rolling out around Australia, the state government would have been looking after these participants in their own state model with regards to disability, whatever that's called. It's called differently in different states. And there is a reasonable number of potential opportunities for our investors to look into, because the goal to SDA with investors really is acquisition of land at a lower price and build at as quickly as possible before the prices go up, obviously. But Rob, you being in Melbourne, you know more about the Tasmania products, the land prices and so whatnot than anyone else. Traditionally, what have been the land prices been like down in Melbourne, in Tasmania, the last few years?
Tassie in the last probably 6 years has been the best performed property market in the traditional sector in Australia. It was highly undervalued versus Melbourne, Sydney 6 years ago. And so a lot of investors have gone down there, and obviously a lot of people have also decided to have a sea change and move to Hobart. So it has gone up a lot, but it is still roughly probably half the price for land in Hobart versus the equivalent in Melbourne. To give you an idea, we've got a couple of packages in a suburb called Clarendon Vale, which for anyone who knows, Hobart is on the eastern side of the Derwent, so you have to cross the big bridge from Hobart. And anyone who follows cricket, it's near where the Bellerive Oval is. So it's still in reasonable close proximity to the centre of Hobart. It's about a 20-minute drive and about 10 kilometres. And the land there is about 250,000. So you compare that to Melbourne and Brisbane, where you're looking at 400 to 450,000 for land in the outskirts. That's where the opportunity here lies, in that the packages, even for high physical, are coming in at about $779,000 for a 4-bed, which is probably $200,000 to $250,000 under the other areas that we're looking at, except for probably not on a comparable basis to Perth.
Rob, what's the size of that land for that kind of number, 240K?
That's still to be confirmed, but it's at least 12.5 metres wide. I think it's about 350 to 400 square metres. Some of the blocks down there are a bit bigger than what's being supplied in Melbourne, so they could be up to 500 square metres and just be a little bit more expensive.
I guess if investors want a lower price in Tassie, you look at Launceston and Burnie and other areas around Hobart, around Tasmania, which are away from the metro areas as well, I guess.
Yeah, Launceston's probably high 100s to 200 for the equivalent size, so you're probably going to be looking at about 50,000 less for a package in Launceston.
Yeah. At the moment in Hobart, there is 128 dwellings. 39. These are estimated supply coming out. Actually, is it supply? This existing legacy, new and pipeline builds. So 39 houses or dwellings in improvability, 10 in fully accessible, 7 in robust, and 72 being basics. Basic being those legacy homes, pretty much. So there's no high physical support. And I would dare say that the 7 robust there in Hobart are really the legacy homes as well. So only 2 new robust and 2 fully accessible. So Rob, tell me more. So they're the numbers there with regards to existing there, and we know that as new product comes out, then the participants in those older dwellings will definitely move over to a better choice product, like a 3 or 4 bedroom house. This house you're looking at here in Rockingham Drive in Clarendon Vale. Tell us more about the floor plan there. What do you think about that?
It's floor plan similar to ones that we've offered in Melbourne. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath option. It's 207 square metres. So we would suggest 2 high physical participants, not 3, to be conservative, and the extra bedroom could be used as an extra living area, and then of course you've got the 4th bedroom that can be used as the on-site carer's room. The builder that our partner is contracted down there is called SJM Property Developments in this particular case. Their website for anyone who's interested is sjmpd.com.au. Our partner, who is a consultancy firm that finds and does the due diligence on builders, and then also has the relationships with providers down there. So they're acting as our feet on the ground down there and putting together the areas that are suitable. And they've come up with Clarendon Vale as being a suitable area with high demand. The builder looks like they've got a lot of awards. They've done a lot of high-end housing in the past, over 1,000 homes over the last 15 years. So they're a good, solid builder that's agreed to build these NDIS homes based on the plans. For those who will get the actual package that we've got, you'll see that it looks high-end in terms of the finish and the fittings and the fixtures. There's a lot in the home as optional extras that are included. So we're confident that the risk with these is low. We assume, we have to confirm that the build time is probably similar down in Hobart to what it is in Melbourne. That's still to be confirmed. So you're probably looking at 12 months all up minimum to build this property. However, in Hobart, what they're looking for, and in this particular instance, it is titled land. So there wouldn't be the waiting time for land to title. It's just the settlement terms, which could be 30 days or 60 days, and that can be negotiated between the two parties.
One question one of my clients asked me was the floor plan there. Well, first of all, it's 4-bed, 2.5 bath. So it's a large powder room, toilet, with the ensuite and the main communal. So it's 2.5 toilets there, or 3 toilets, 2.5 bathrooms. Rob, I want to make mention of here. When you think as a normal investor, 4-bed, 2-bath, 2-car, you're assuming 4 people in the house, which is 1 carer and 3 participants. And the comment of, well, it's only 2 bathrooms, isn't that not enough bathrooms in the house, so to speak? And that's right that's correct in the traditional sense. But you got to remember there's a carer here with potentially 2 or 3 participants. The carer is not going to have 2 participants having a bath or a shower at the same time. They're not. That's the first comment. So you don't need, although it'd be nice to have a 4-bed, 4-bath scenario design in a house. Yes, I understand that. We all know that. There's only 1 carer, and the carer isn't going to have 3 people in the shower at the same time. So the water centre or powder room here, the very large powder room, is large enough for 1 participant to go in there, Rob, as you can see in the floor plan. And the other bathroom across from it is a full proper participant bathroom with a shower and toilet there. And the ensuite has one there as well. So I'm quite happy and okay with the current design layout here, Rob. Are you happy? Do you share the same opinion?
Yes, and really this particular design and location has been obviously done in consultation with the providers who have said that there is demand for it to be filled. So if they had an issue with it, they would have let us know. Now, we will have potentially other designs through this group. We've talked about the ones in Melbourne where you've got the hybrid design, you've got the robust. They might have a 3-bed, 3-bath. There's a few different designs that are being worked on going forward. This particular one is for these 2 initial packages that we've been able to access.
A question I get often from a lot of people, Rob, is why don't we have 4-bed, 4-bath or 3-bed, 3-bath? And it's the land size, the lot size. I mean, right now here it says 12.5 metre wide block. In an ideal world, if you want a 4-bed, 4-bath, 2-car HPS design house, you want a 15-metre wide frontage and roughly 30 long. But as you and I have discussed so many times, Rob, in the previous episodes, those big blocks don't exist anymore. The councils are cutting up the land smaller in land size, and everyone's fighting over the larger blocks. So we can't get the ideal blocks for our NDS designs builds at all. So we have to make do what we can. And in this case here, a 4-bed, 2.5 bath, 1-car floor plan layout at 207 square meters on a 12.5 meter wide block is the maximum we can do. And that's all we can, or that can be done on this block by this builder and endorsed by the providers, being the SIL provider and the housing provider as well.
Yeah. Correct. Now, I'm envisaging that we may be able to get a few bigger blocks in some of the other areas of Tassie, the more remote areas, but probably not in Hobart.
Oh, sure. Yeah, exactly. I agree. In the meantime, Rob, can you explain to our listeners what the terms and conditions are with regards to if someone wanted to proceed with one of these types of packages in Hobart?
Okay.
In terms of EOI, contracts, finance, and so forth.
This is very important, and this is the trend that we've found started in Melbourne, and it's now continuing down in Hobart and probably will for the rest of Australia. If you are considering buying one of these packages, you have to be very confident or sure that you have finance in place or other means of payment. The land contracts and the bill contracts, they are not allowing them to be subject to finance. So the investor has to be very confident that there's going to be no issues with them being able to fund the project. In terms of the timelines and the logistics, if it's a case like these 2 particular blocks where it's titled land that's probably a resale property, it's not through an estate, the general consensus is that there's a $5,000 deposit that needs to be put down on the land, and that needs to be done quickly to secure the land, and that is non-refundable.
And that's payable immediately.
Because they're selling straight away. So it's a market where the sellers have got the upper hand over the buyers. So there's a $5,000 immediate deposit on the land. Then 2 weeks later, the way it works with these providers is that you have to pay the NDIS certification fee up front as well, which in Tasmania is $6,600. That's 2 weeks. So there's a 2-week time frame on that to be paid. Then you've got the 10% land deposit as well that will need to be paid in that time frame as soon as possible once the contracts have been signed. In terms of settlement terms, usually it's probably going to be either 30 or 60 days from the point of the land contract. Mm-hmm. And then the 5% bill contract deposit needs to be paid at land settlement. So they're the timelines. Yep.
Rob, is it normal for a vendor to ask for a 10% land deposit on a contract, even though they may be settling in 30 days or 40 days' time?
I think it is now in the market. You might say it's different up in Brisbane, but certainly in Melbourne, that's the norm. And that's just continuing over to Tasmania here. These could change going forward, but at the minute, you just have to go along with what the market's asking for.
And refundable or not?
Well, the initial $5,000 deposit is technically not refundable, but as we've discussed, if we had another investor that was prepared to move in, maybe we could organise a deal there. But as we've discussed, the investor shouldn't be thinking that it's refundable because they have to make sure their finances in place, and they have to be certain that they want to go ahead with these packages.
So from a buyer's perspective, the $5,000 is non-refundable. The $6,600 amount is non-refundable. The up-and-coming 10% land deposit is non-refundable, right? And then we're settling.
Right.
So the vendor and is 30, 45 days or whatever the date of settlement is, yeah. So if you are a buyer and you want to proceed with something like this, this is the market conditions of contracts, because we know that there's so many buyers just chasing after these kind of packages, which are provider endorsed, provider led, whereby the housing provider and the care provider they're very keen to see this up and running, and the builder and the consultancy service want to ensure that the buyer is serious and not going to waste anyone's time. Okay, that's the ultimate goal there. So there's two there, Rob. There is potentially more in Hobart coming up, right? There should be more next few weeks.
Our partner down there is looking for more land in consultation, I think, with this builder. All over Tassie, I think.
All around Tassie?
As far as I understand. And we've asked them to come up with more packages for us in different areas at different prices. So hopefully that'll happen over the next few weeks. And we've discussed this in the past, but I think land is probably going to free up a little bit over the next 6 months and become a little bit easier to get based on the overall economic conditions we're in.
Okay. Any final words of wisdom or advice for our listeners, Rob, about jumping into Tasmania and NDIS?
Just that if you do the numbers, it obviously certainly adds up and is very attractive versus other areas of Australia at the minute, as we discussed. $200,000 to $250,000 less of a capital investment. Income is still pretty much the same as other areas in Australia, and as we said, the demand is only at the beginning in terms of supply. So risk factors lower as well. I also think even though Tassie has gone through a pretty good growth run over the last 6 years, because it is a lower entry point still, it probably is a lower overall risk in terms of the next 5 or 10 years with overall property prices as well. So it's a particularly good option.
Yeah. From a risk point of view, we're providing a de-risked strategy by having it land is titled. That's number one. Having the providers endorsing it, provider-led packages. That's number two. Number three is there's no competitive stock out there to compete or fight over the participants for your house if you buy this, because there is zero HPS in Tasmania. That's number three positive there. Number four is we have a very good history of apparently this history of this builder is 15 years of positive reputation in the marketplace there. That's number four. I think that covers it, Rob. It really is. I mean,
yep.
That's compared to other locations around Australia, whereby there's uncertainty of land titles, uncertainty of builders, uncertainty of supply of product dwellings coming out of the ground, uncertainty of participants being available. I think these ones in Hobart, Tasmania, are on the low risk end of the spectrum. Agreed?
Yes. Well, it's in the capital city, Hobart, as well, so it's it's not a remote area.
Yeah. Rob, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you on one of our podcasts coming up in the next week.
No worries. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, mate.
Have a good day, and look out for those options in Tassie that we've got coming up.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.